Okay, I think we can get started now. Welcome everyone to the live NC State Prague information session. Today you'll get to learn a bit about our programs, as well as get to meet some of our staff and some of our students, both past and present. So before we get started, just a couple of housekeeping rules. If you wouldn't mind, just keep yourself on mute unless you're talking. That way we can reduce the background noise. And also, we'll be taking, after our presentation, we'll be taking questions afterwards. So feel free to ask us questions then, as well as utilize the chat box down in the bottom there, and we'll be able to see those questions and address those as well. So today we have 1 hour. We'll talk a bit about our programs, and then we'll kick things off with a quick introduction. So I'll pass it over to Kim.
Hi, I'm Kim Strzezuski. I'm the director and I'm located here in Prague. I've been with NC State since 2019, and I'll be happy to welcome you on site when you come on our program.
Hi, everyone. My name is Eva Kavalova. I'm a student affairs and program coordinator. I'm also located here in Prague. I'm working mostly with the students, starting from, let's say, scheduling some fun activities, trips, and so on. So I'm sure we'll be meeting if you decide to come to Prague.
And I'm Alex Wessner. I'm the assistant director based here on the main campus in Raleigh. And I work with you sort of in the application phases, as well as what we call the pre-departure period. So you'll definitely see me at some point early on.
Oh, sorry, and now is my time also to present you to our current and also current students and alumni who will be answering your questions today and helping us through the presentation and through the info session. So I will start with Emily Wilson, and Emily, if you can please introduce yourself.
Hello, everyone. I hope you can hear me okay. I'm sorry, I'm in my car, but I am an NC State Prague alumni. I studied this past spring in Prague during the pandemic. So I have quite a different experience in Prague than some students might, but it was still super awesome. And I'd love to talk to you guys about that. I'm majoring in international relations and I'm a senior. So thank you guys for having me today.
And then the next one, we have our current students from Fall 21 who are right now in Prague. And Jesse, if you can please introduce yourself now.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jesse Miner. I'm studying architecture. I'm a graduate student, and I'm loving my time here so far.
Thank you. And Liz, if you can tell us more about yourself as well.
Hi, everyone. My name is Liz, and I'm a fourth-year student in science education, and I'm currently here in Prague. And similar to Jesse, I'm having a pretty good time here.
So I'm going to talk a little bit about NC State Prague, where NC State's only permanent year-round international facility. We primarily act as a study abroad location for the fall, spring, and summer for NC State students. We are originally started in 2005 through the College of Design, but we moved over generally to the university in 2017. And we currently have around 200 students per year when there's not a pandemic going on. We had a little bit less in the past year, but we still have a full administrative staff. You met Alex, he's in Raleigh, and then we have 10 staff members in Prague. I was one of them. We also have some student housing assistants, and then we have 20 Czech faculty members who teach the classes. So you have there's a robust on-site staff and faculty to help you out. We have our own classroom space. You can see in the photo, the red banner, that's the NC State building. And we have a nice kitchen and social space in our facility for you could cook some group meals there with your classmates. We also have some cooking classes for students. You can see an example of one of our classrooms there below, and we have a lovely courtyard, which is nice in the summer. Well, every semester there's time when you could sit outside and enjoy yourself. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, we have a variety of programs. The main program that we offer is the Study Abroad Classic program, We have this in the fall or spring. It's 12 credit hours, 12 weeks, and you can see the price there. And then in summer, we also have a classic program, which includes a variety of courses. Also, E101 is part of our classic program. I know there's a lot of engineering students on this call, so if specific questions about the E101 course, it's included as part of our summer classic program. And in the summer, you take 5+ credit hours and it's 6 weeks. So you get a full semester of NC State courses, on-site orientation is included, excursions. We do a lot of cultural enrichment activities, cooking classes, visits to museums, visits, trips with you, visits to local sites, etc. And then you have student affairs professionals on site. We're here at the NC State Center. So when you're outside of class and you have any other issues, we can help you with those. European faculty are teaching NC State classes. So you get a slightly different perspective than you would at NC State by having Czech faculty teacher courses. And we also keep our class sizes small. So it's a more intimate environment for the program. And if you want to see the complete list of programs that we have, you could always take a look at our website. And we help the on-site staff. Alex helps you with the pre-departure advising and pre-departure support. We have a lot of, because Zoom has made our lives easier, we do many of our pre-departure orientations with you via Zoom. We take care of your housing and we assist with your course registration. So we walk you through the process of getting on the program. If you're coming for a regular semester, we help you with the visa process, and then we're here on the ground to assist you.
And if I may use the opportunity that we do have our students or like former students here at the call, I'd like to ask maybe what was your favorite class and why, if I may start with Emily.
Hello. Okay. So my favorite class was the Czech language and culture, purely because the professor, her name is Lenka, and she was just such a lovely woman to be able to talk to about comparing like American culture to Czech culture. Her husband's American, so it was interesting to have him come in and kind of speak on that like topic about what is so different and why is it so different and how can we as Americans learn and adapt to this new way of living for 3 months or for however long you are in Prague. And that was one of my favorites just because it was great to speak to kind of someone who had firsthand experience.
That's great. Thank you for sharing. And Liz, what about you? What is the favorite class for you right now in Prague?
That's actually like a pretty difficult question just because I've been enjoying all of my classes, but I feel like if I had to choose one, it would be my astronomy class. For one, it's just really interesting to study astronomy in Europe, and especially we've had the opportunity to visit multiple observatories, and I don't know, science is, as a science education major, science is my favorite subject, so I just really enjoy it. And just a little bit about all the classes here. You get to do so many different field trips and just really get to immerse yourself in the culture here. So like I said, it was just really interesting being able to see what the observatories and planetariums look like here in Prague.
That's great. Thank you. And Jessie, for you, maybe a little different question, just because you are a graduate, you're studying architecture, so it's a little more specific than basically some of our other students. Maybe could you mention or could you say what's the biggest difference, you know, like in, let's say, architecture classes in Raleigh and in Prague, or like if you think it's the same?
Yeah. So the architecture studio here is really great. If you are in architecture, you get a lot of freedom to kind of choose your own project. There's sort of a prompt that kind of keeps you going through the semester, but you do have a lot of freedom to kind of like bend the curriculum to how you want to do it and learn the way that you want to learn. You really get out on site. You get to go walk around Prague and pick your site that you want to work on, and you can stay with that one site the whole semester, or you can switch it up as you go along. But I've been learning a ton. I'm doing like a little bit of urban planning on a pretty big section of Prague, and I'm learning maybe more this semester than I have in any past semester, while I'm having a lot of fun doing other things at the same time. So all the professors are wonderful. Igor, Adam, the two studio professors, are really smart, educated. They're really like intelligent people that are going to lead you down the right track. And then the other two classes, the sustainability and urbanism and the drawing class are really nice as well. Irina is a wonderful woman. You'll really like her as a professor. She makes drawing fun, and I don't like drawing. And Henry's also very smart as well. You'll definitely learn a lot in his class.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Well, anyway, if any of you attending today's info session has any other questions regarding classes or, some of these portions, definitely send a chat message or ask our students in the end during the panel as well. Ooh. Okay, next slide.
In addition to our classic programs, which you heard a little bit about, this summer we are launching a new internship program. We actually tried to launch it last summer, but it wasn't possible to have because of COVID. So this is also, it's a 6-credit program. It's 6 weeks. You take a class called Applied Leadership Building, which is once a week for an hour, and then you get placed in an internship. And this is for any majors, and it's part of the same time as the classic program. So you do a lot of the same things with the orientation, excursions, and trips, but then you'll be put in your placement. And if you are interested in the internship program, we're encouraging the applicants to apply as soon as possible because it's a limited in size because the class should remain under 20. So we're taking the applicants out of whoever gets the application done first, kind of for rolling basis for the applicants who apply first. So, and if you have any questions about that, we do have an internship coordinator who is doing the placements, and he'll meet with you after your application is complete. Next slide, please. And you heard a little bit from the past and current students about the classes, but most of our classes fulfill GEP requirements in humanities, natural sciences, social sciences, diversity, interdisciplinary perspectives, visual and performing arts, global knowledge. And also we have some education courses. I forgot to put that on the NC State course list there, but you can see a complete list of our classes under academics. And as the students mentioned, a lot of the classes are not just in the classroom. They're filled with excursions to different places that kind of complement the class. So the astronomy class goes to local planetariums or sites outside of Prague. The sociology class goes to museums. So all of the professors use Prague as a template in order to complement the class and emphasize the themes within. So it's very much using the city and the location, and we have a lovely location right downtown. So it's optimal for the classes to be integrated within the city. Next slide, please. Oh, and I forgot to mention, the classes are Monday through Thursday. There are some Fridays that we have makeup classes, but generally we try to keep it because we do understand that students want to visit other countries nearby. So we leave it so the weekends are a little bit longer, so you can do that.
And we will continue with some information regarding cultural activities that we are providing. Because we understand that your study abroad is not only in the classrooms, but also outside. Definitely, you will get an on-site orientation once you are in Prague. We will, cover all of the necessary topics, covering the health and safety or how you can navigate the public transportation. You will also be taking Charles University Czech Language and Culture Immersion course. It is for fall and spring programs. Basically, this is a 4-day or like a week-long crushing survival Czech course, I would say, that will just teach you the basics of Czech language, how to buy some groceries, how to, just like navigate and go around the city and not get lost and understand the language and kind of help out your start here in Prague. And with that, you'll also get an access to Charles University resources, as well as some, let's say, additional and optional excursion that are in cooperation with Charles University as well. And for our fall and spring program, the cooperation with Charles University also allows us to have long-term visas or student visas for you, which means that you can enjoy your time here for a little bit longer over the 90 days. Definitely with our classic program, you will also be going for excursions and activities. Usually during fall and spring semester, we go for 2 of excursion. One it's in country and the other one is out of country. This semester we've been in Český Krumlov, which is a small city at the south of Bohemia. It's a UNESCO, it's written on a UNESCO monument protected list. And definitely I'll ask students to share a little bit about that because it's always better to hear from them, of course, about those. And we've also been in Berlin, but in some semester we may be going to Krakow and some other major European cities in the neighborhood or neighboring the Czech Republic. We are also trying to provide some other activities as going to the operas, some theater plays, visiting some museum, etc., or going to the hockey game, depending on what's available at the moment. Also, during your semester, you'll get an opportunity to attend Czech cooking classes. It's for free. You just need to sign up for that. And basically, it's a good opportunity for you to get to learn the culture or like enjoy our Czech culture through food. And maybe some of the students can also confirm that it's a great way how to, have some free meals because what you cook, you also eat at the end. Yep, I think that's all from me, but maybe if I again may ask Liz to share what activity she's been participating in or add something more for the excursions that we've taken part of.
Yeah, so I can talk about our experience at Český Krumlov. That was one of the best experiences I've had in my life. It was the first time I had the chance to tour the inside of a castle. And I mean, the view of Český Krumlov, if you look at pictures of it, you can imagine how gorgeous it is in person. So yeah, I just was really grateful for that experience. I mean, Prague itself is a beautiful city, but being able to explore another part of the Czech Republic was really special. And you get to do it with like everyone at, that's a part of the program. You that's like the first time you really get to know them, I feel like, because we all had to go on the trip. And so I think it was like the second weekend we were in Prague. So it just gave us a chance to not only get to know the place that we're staying in for a couple of months, but also, the other people in our program. So it was really special.
And if I may ask right now, Emily, who already at the beginning, explained that she came to study in Prague during spring 21, which was still a little, let's say, difficult or different semester because of all COVID pandemic going on. And so our activities or options actually were a little bit limited. But maybe Emily, if you can share as well, some of your impressions, because we've also went to Český Krumlov at least for a day. And yeah, we've got some other activities.
Yes, as I said, pandemic kind of limited our options as far as places to go. So we did spend a ton of time within the city of Prague, and my broad group had to kind of figure out kind of their own path and discovering the city, which was honestly really interesting and really cool. It was kind of like being a local in Prague because none of the tourists were there. So like the city was a little bit more empty than usual, which was really interesting. We were able to see and do a lot more things around the city, which was just really awesome. And the trams weren't packed, which was also really cool. But we were able to go to Český Krumlov for a day, and that it was just so beautiful. And again, there wasn't a lot of people there, so we were able to have more of like a private viewing of Český Krumlov and see the bears that are in the castle and kind of divide up into groups and take time to spend time with each other and make those memories. Another excursion that I loved was hiking in Bohemian Switzerland and going to the top of like this like little summit. It was really beautiful. The hike definitely told me I needed to go back home and get back into shape, but it was really beautiful, and it was really awesome to experience like the whole nature and hiking culture that the Czech loves to have and be outside and really connect with one another in that way as well.
Thank you. And we would move right now to the student housing. We are basically renting out the whole building. So our dorm is just for NC State students, which is basically like one of good opportunities for you to get to know, the people from your program, and also that it's definitely just for NC State students. What is included or what's in the building, and definitely some of the students can then add more about how is it to live there. But definitely the furniture is included, as well as bedding that it's been changed every month for you. There are 3 floors that has the same layout with a shared kitchen, but basically the bathrooms are shared between mostly 2 rooms. Of course, there is a Wi-Fi and there is a laundry available at the basement of the building. What we would say is the very big highlight is that local Czech students, our student housing assistants are living there to provide you with, information, and also to be a support and help for you when you're new in Prague, when you don't know where to buy, I don't know, flour, or, some of the basics that you need for your cooking. And they also participate with you in different activities and programs throughout the semester as well, and can more introduce you to the local Czech student culture, let's say, because they are students at Czech universities. You can see some of the pictures here in the slide. On the left, at the bottom, we do have a shared kitchen, and we have an example of a room of a double on the right bottom part. If you're interested in more photos, you can definitely go on our website and check it out, as we do have also a 360 picture there. And I would also like to mention that normally we do have double rooms basically for students. However, there are also some single rooms and private rooms available for an additional fee if you're interested in that. And with that being said, Jessie, may I ask you to share your impressions or, experience from the student housing?
Yeah, I quite like my housing, my residence, just my living situation in general. My room is always clean because I have someone coming to clean it twice a month, which is really nice. The bathroom's is perfect. The kitchen's nice. It has everything that you could need. And another couple of nice things about like the location is that the residence is, or I'm sorry, the coffee shop, Costa Coffee. It's a big coffee shop that's perfect for doing work, and that's right below our residence. There's a corner store right across the street that has like a little bit of food that you can get if you're in a hurry, and other things. And yeah, our housing assistants are great. You'll be friends with them, and they will show you all about Prague and show you things that you'll never find on your own. So we're definitely very thankful towards them.
And I would also like to add, thank you for mentioning it, is that basically the dorm is located very close to the NC State Center. You can decide, to walk if you're up to that, and it's like 20 minutes through the downtown or through the city center where the astronomical clock is and so on. Or you can jump on a tram and take tram for a few stops and then just like walk a little bit to go to the NC State Center. So it's very well located as well. Liz, maybe some other notes on that, or if you can compare it with maybe NC State campus housing, if you lived there, or, give students some idea.
Yeah, so I lived on campus at NC State my freshman year, and I feel like that gives you a pretty good idea of what it's like to live here in the dorms in Prague. There's only a few minor differences. For example, this semester, we all had private rooms, so that was pretty nice. But if you're adjusted to living in a dorm with someone else, it's the same concept. And then, like Jessie mentioned, everything is right there. Like, for example, the coffee shop was being renovated while we were here, but then it opened, and it's been like such a safe haven for me now. Like, I can grab coffee downstairs and like do my homework. And then it just gives you like an extra study spot. And then the washing is here in the dorm building. And then there's quite a few different stores around the area that are either like a tram stop away or even just like a quick 5-minute walk. Jessie mentioned the corner store, which I love it so much. It's literally across the street and it has everything you need. So if you need something quick, like you can literally just go there at any time and they'll probably have it. So it's a pretty nice living situation, and there's the tram stop's not even that far away, which is even better for us. So if you're looking to, go out frequently, the tram stop's like a 2-minute walk. So it's pretty nice.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, so at this point, you may be asking yourself, okay, what's all this cost? So we'll look briefly at next couple slides at how this breaks down. Before we look at the Prague specific costs, just a couple things you can see on this table. The setup fee and the study abroad fee. So those are fees that you would pay for any study abroad program here at NC State. The setup fee is essentially like an application fee, which you would pay when you submit an application. So you don't need to pay anything just to start one. It's just at the point of submission. And then the study abroad fee comes later, and that's something you pay upon commitment. So kind of incrementally, as you sort of commit further along, there's those payment stages. So if we look at the columns that say that the total program costs, that includes the setup fee and the study abroad fee. And that's the bulk of your costs, okay? So this, of course, will vary from the summer programs and the semester-long programs. You can see for our Fall and Spring Classic, as well as a Connect and Global Leadership minor, those will run about $10,000 to $11,000 in total. And then for our shorter 6-week programs in the summer, Classic, E101, and Internship, those will be at just under $6,000. So that's the bulk of the cost. There are some additional expenses. And just before we get to the next slide, I'll mention that this is going to be the same cost, whether you're an in-state or an out-of-state student. So, and there's no additional like tuition costs you'll pay that semester. It's all kind of included in that program costs, in addition to some other items, which we'll cover next. So what's included in that program cost? Like I mentioned, it's the tuition, which is the bulk of it. Your accommodations, so what we just looked over with the housing, that's all included as well. In addition, you'll be signed up for GeoBlue health insurance, which will cover you for the entire time you're over, not just in Prague, but when you're traveling in Europe, you'll have that covered as well, and that will be included. The excursions that we talked about, there'll be some in-country excursions and the out-of-country excursions. Those will all be included as well in the program costs, both the transportation to get to those places, as well as the lodging when you're in those places. Of course, that doesn't include any personal travel you take, but just those main programmatic excursions that we include. Cultural events, so things like when you're in Prague, we'll take you to various places like museums and galleries, stuff like that. So that's all included as well. In addition, when you get to Prague, you'll have this thorough orientation session when you're there, and we'll provide you materials. That's included. There's also a really nice 24/7 on-site emergency response. So if anything happens, that's all part of the program. Of course, Wi-Fi, internet access, what you'd expect the residents. And then also when you get there, one of those, the first days you're there, we'll hand you a travel pass. So this is kind of like a card, have your picture on it. And this is what you would use to get around Prague the whole time you're there, whether you're taking a tram or however, subway, however you get in there, metro. That's included, the in-country travel as well. So what's not included? Okay, so the international trip. So the big flight you take over to Prague and then went back to the US when it's all over, that's something that you would just pay for out of pocket. So we don't do a group booking for flights. You're free essentially to purchase your airfare on your own. If you see some deals, however you wish. Of course, there's dates you would need to get there by, but you're free to do that. And that's something that you would take care of on your own. Your day-to-day meals, by and large, you would just take care of that yourself, whether that's if you prefer to sort of go to the grocery store, buy groceries and prepare meals for yourself, or if you want to go out to eat, so that you're free as well to do what you want there. And that's something that you would just take care of on your own. Supplies and personal expenses, this is sort of a catch-all term for a lot of other things. So, it just varies from person to person and what that might be. Textbooks and studio supplies. Your instructors may have various requirements for textbooks and studio supplies and things like that. They'll try when they can to sort of make those things cheap and digitally accessible, but there'll be some, as you can expect, just like here, some costs related to that. And then finally, the passport and visa fee. So some of our programs do require a visa, and those are our longer programs over 90 days. There is a slight fee with that in the range of $115, $120. It just varies from month to month. But that's something you can expect for any program that requires a visa. The shorter programs in the summer don't normally require a visa, so you won't need to worry about that. Now, the passport, the reason that's there is, of course, for any of these programs, just keep in mind, you have to have a valid passport. So if you're thinking about coming on the programs and you don't yet have one, definitely that's something you want to get started early, because that process can be pretty lengthy. It can be several months on a normal scale. So there's a fee with that as well. If you have to renew a passport, there's also a fee with that. So that's why we include it. You may not have to do any of that. That's just something we want to throw out there just so you're aware of that as part of the other costs that's not included in that major program costs. So, okay, with that, what are the application deadlines? So currently we have open our summer programs application cycle. So that is open currently, and that will remain open until February 15th for our summer classic program, okay? For the internship and the E101 that Kim was talking about earlier, those have a different deadline. It's a bit earlier. So for those two programs, it's December 15th. So for E101 summer internship, that's December 15th. So a little over a month away. But for the summer classic, you have some time until February 15th to apply for that. Now, if we go to the cycle after that, the fall 2022, we're still waiting to hear from the study abroad office as to when that can be open. So we're going to be announcing that later. And then the spring, so we're talking spring 2023, we do know that that application deadline is going to be September 15th, 2022. But if you're interested in the summer, which maybe most of you here are, again, keep in mind February 15th for the classic, and then December 15th for E101 and the internship. Finally, there's scholarships available through the NC State Study Abroad office. Now, those have their own application deadline. So for the summer application, scholarship application deadline, that's December 1st. So not too far away. So if you're interested, you can apply for that easily through the Study Abroad's website. What they do is you just have to apply once, and they'll take that one application and match you up with whatever awards they have available. So you don't need to apply like one application for each award. So they just streamline that process for you to make it easy. But that's December 1st. So that's for the summer. If you're looking at a summer program and you want to see if you're eligible for any NC State scholarships that they provide, then keep in mind you have to get that in by December 1st. And there's a link at the bottom there that you can use, which will take you to that application. As well, you can use that link to learn more about other funding sources, as well as get access to databases for outside funding as well.
All right, and now we have again time to hear a little bit more from our student panelists for today. And I would like to start with a question: why did you choose to study abroad in Prague? Liz, if you can start.
Yeah, so for me, I had always dreamed of studying abroad. It was always something that I wanted to do ever since I was a freshman in college. And, you know, my college career has been a little unconventional because of the pandemic. And so I did have originally planned out to study abroad my sophomore year in Spain. And so when that was canceled because of the pandemic, I wasn't really sure if I was going to get the chance to study abroad again. And then my junior year last year, I heard about the Prague program, and I specifically heard about the astronomy class they offered. And I looked at my degree requirements, and, you know, senior year was coming up, so I needed to get all of my classes out of the way. And the one class I hadn't taken was astronomy. And so it kind of just the stars aligned, and I was able to apply to go to the Prague program. I found out more about it before I applied, but I mean, everything about it seemed, you know, what I wanted. And for example, with study abroad, the reason it was my dream as a freshman was just because of the I guess, what I would learn culturally and just about myself. And it was something that I kind of wanted to challenge myself to do. I'm a big homebody. And so for me to study abroad and to be away from my family was a pretty big challenge. And so I kind of wanted to overcome my fear, I guess, of being away from home. And so far it's been pretty good. But yeah, that's kind of how I decided upon Prague. It just kind of happened by chance, but I'm very grateful for it.
And we're grateful that you've decided to come to Prague for sure. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, I was driving home from a road trip where I finished all 48 states of the US. And I figured, well, I got to do something else now. So I looked up study abroad at NC State, and I saw that Prague was an option, and I saw it fits perfectly into my schedule. And I think it fits into all of like any architecture students. If you want trying to go to Prague, it fits in perfect. It has every class that you need to take to graduate. So it fit right in. I emailed Eva that day. She emailed me that night, and I was set to go. And then as I kept researching Prague as the things went on, it just got the interest grew and grew because it's just so old. It's one of the only cities in Europe that wasn't totally decimated by the World War II bombs. So all these buildings are intact. You get to kind of peer right back into history. So it's really, really neat, and so glad that I got to come here.
And just additional caveat is Jesse has probably visited every city in the Czech Republic during his time here as well, in addition to every 50 states.
Just spreading spreading your horizons. I can see that. And for you, Emily, maybe as you came, in spring 21, when, we were one of the few programs that ran that year, why did you choose in the end to come actually?
Just similar to Jesse and Liz, I've always wanted to study abroad. As an international studies major, it was part of my departmental requirements. And then when the pandemic hit, that requirement got waived, but I was still so determined, how am I going to major in international relations without living abroad? I feel like that was kind of ridiculous. So I just decided to go out on a whim and look into study abroad programs. I originally applied for Australia, but as we know, they closed their borders, which no problem. And so then I continued to look into more NC State based programs, and Prague was the winner just because it had its own housing, it had its own classrooms, and it was a definitely more controlled environment under the pandemic. Therefore, it was I knew in my heart that it was going to happen. I just had to keep manifesting it, that we were going to go through with this program and it wasn't going to get canceled. And so then me and 17 people hopped on a plane and came over to the Czech Republic. So it was really an awesome decision and a great feeling to hear the green light was go, let's go to Europe for 3 months in the pandemic. So, but yes, I've always wanted to study abroad, and I'm so glad that I did.
Thank you. Thank you so much. What was one thing that surprised you the most about the study abroad at NC State Prague, Liz?
So for me, it was mainly how much I enjoyed it, and how much I grew to love the city that I'm in, and how much personal growth I've seen within myself, being here. I was just reflecting with my friends the other day, because some of the Connect students that are here, their program is shorter, so they're leaving soon. But just looking back on, my first month here, I was explaining, I am a big homebody, so I was feeling a lot of homesickness at first. And I was like, oh, this is so different culturally. I don't know if I'll ever get used to it. And now I just feel like a local. When I get on trams, I know exactly how to act like a Czech person. And I can now figure out who's the American. Before they would call us out and be like, oh, we can tell who's American. And I was like, how? I can't tell at all. But now being here, just I feel so adjusted. And so for me, that's been the most surprising thing, is just seeing how easy it was of a transition for me to adjust to this new country. And yeah, I'm just very great. We were talking about just how much we've been able to see in Prague alone. Prague itself is just such a beautiful city and so historically rich. So yeah, I think that's the biggest surprise is just how much I've learned, one, culturally, two, about myself, and three, about other people around me. So that's been really, really nice.
And for you, Emily, what was the one thing that surprised you the most?
What surprised me the most, again, we went in with kind of like what's going to happen with like the pandemic mindset, is how much we were able to still do and learn, even with like all the constraints that we had. I like definitely left like living, or I left the city now knowing how to live in a city, period, like regardless if that's in America or Europe, because I just kind of grew up in the suburbs my whole life. So living in the city was definitely like a huge change. And then definitely like the confidence that I grew and like being a solo person in a big city was huge for me. Because I thought Raleigh, North Carolina was gonna be like a bustling city, but absolutely does not compare to Prague, Czech Republic. But yeah, that was really awesome to kind of like learn about myself and about others and how we can navigate through a city that doesn't even speak English, or its main language isn't English, so you kind of have to figure it out. But yeah, I feel like I could live anywhere and do anything now, truthfully, and that might just be overconfidence. But yeah.
I mean, that's how you learn that, right? Just to trust in yourself. Can you give us an example of something you did to in Prague, or what you're doing now to learn about the culture? Jesse, maybe that's the question for you.
Yeah. One interesting thing that I did was Henry, the urbanism and sustainability professor, has a class of Czech students that he teaches, and he was able to share the contact information of both of those groups with each other. So I ended up meeting one of the Czech students in that class, who's also an architecture student, and he took me to Český Raj, which is kind of like a wilderness area. It's kind of has like sandstone rock pillars kind of like going up through the trees, and castles and huge expanses of farm and ponds and lakes. So it was really beautiful, and we had a really nice time, and it was really interesting to see like how he operated and the land that he felt extremely comfortable in, where I'm comfortable, but I'm not walking through the middle of farms and things, because I wouldn't do that in the US. But here you're just walking through the farms, you're picking apples along the way, and it's all completely kosher. It's expected. So that was nice. And I got to try, like, we went to a few different restaurants, and he'd be like, "Oh, get this." I was like, "Okay." And just doing stuff like that. So that was a really nice time. I got to learn a lot about him, the culture, the area. So yeah, that was great.
And it was a great example. Thank you for that. We were a little bit talking about some like challenges and like, how to deal with it. But we were talking about how language that you don't speak can be challenging, or like being in a total strange city, that you don't know. And again, people cannot really help you, or like you don't recognize the words on the streets and so on. But what was the biggest challenge, and how did you overcome it, Liz? Ooh, maybe Liz froze up. All right, so maybe Emily, can I start with you at the moment?
Yes. So our biggest challenge, aside from the pandemic, of course, was trying that first like initial month in Prague, that we were able to go out and experience like the grocery store and experience the tram, saying like the next stop is in Czech, but you're not really quite sure if it's like which square it is or whatever. But definitely over time, you just kind of get used to hearing it, and you can pick up like patterns, especially from the tram, about like where you need to get off to go where. We also used an app. Can't remember which one it was, but we used an app to help us figure out which tram to get on, or looked at the tram stops. That's something that you'll learn in the Czech crash course, is that it'll tell you like what time the tram arrives when and where it's going, which is really, really helpful, and like which direction it's going in. So that's also like really nice to kind of take a moment and look at that. But aside from like not being able to like walk into a store and say like, where's the apple juice? Because it's kind of a daunting thing to do when you don't know what it is in Czech. You kind of just have to work with people and work with the people you're studying abroad with, and kind of create a solution that way. But it's all very doable, and you definitely learn a lot about like how to experience life as English as a second language in a country, and you kind of can empathize with people who don't speak English as their first language, and that's something I've come to more terms with when I'm speaking to someone who doesn't speak English as their first language. I try my best and like to be understanding as possible, because I was that person in the Czech Republic not speaking Czech as my first language. So it definitely teaches you patience. And yes, I think there was something in the chat.
I think it's called PubTren, and we'll definitely cover it during our on-site orientation. So don't worry, you will not miss it, because we also use it. It's very helpful, and we'll definitely recommending students every semester to use that. Maybe my last question for this panel. Thank you once again so much. And it might be like a little soon for that, but Jessie, if you can reflect on or try to think about like what was your biggest accomplishment during the program, even though I know we are not at the end yet, but maybe so far.
So it feels like this whole trip is an accomplishment, but pretty much every week, just kind of making last minute decisions and saying, I'm going to go to Germany today, or I'm going to get on a train and go 3 hours away by myself with a backpack and hope for the best. And you figure it out. You meet people along the way that'll help you. There's always going to be a language barrier, but you can use body language and smiles to get yourself through anything. It's not as hard as it seems daunting when you're going into it, but when you're in this situation, you're just going to go with it and it'll be fun. And my class has actually been a huge accomplishment for me. I kind of already mentioned it, but I'm looking at like a very large section of Prague and doing a deep dive on the urban fabric of it and trying to rework it, trying to rethink it. And by doing that, I've walked that site probably over a dozen times at this point. And the site is very large. It's like a 3-mile round trip around this site. So I'm actually learning so much about the city altogether as I'm doing that. So that's not a finished accomplishment, but when it is finished, I think I'll be very proud of that.
And Emily, for you, as you know, it's been a few months after you came back from your study abroad. So some thoughts on what do you think was the biggest accomplishment?
I would think the biggest accomplishment is like I can now say that I've lived in another country for 3 months, and I know what that experience is like, and I can put that on my resume when I'm applying for jobs after graduation. And also like kind of now being a student who's come back, and as I've lived back in America with all of the other study abroad students, we've been able to hang out quite a bit. We just had a Oktoberfest is kind of like a reunion, and we're planning something for our 1 year like departure date in January. We're making a little vlog, which is really cute, of all of our experiences, and like we did like interviews with everybody, and they kind of went over all of their experiences in Prague. So me and one of my friends is putting that together, and so that's definitely a huge accomplishment, is the connections I've made, and truthfully to share that experience with a whole bunch of other people and have that continue. So
I'll hope you'll share the vlog with us as well, because we are thrilled to see that for sure. All right, thank you guys so much for sharing your experience and your thoughts on some of our questions during the panel. And now we definitely are moving to the last slide.
Yeah, so, okay, as Eva said, last slide, we want to make sure that you know how to connect with us after this. So you can find us on Facebook and Instagram down there at the bottom. Our webpage, which is just a wealth of information, stuff we talked about today, as well as a lot of other info. There it is, pretty simply, prague.ncsu.edu. And then if you want to reach out to us, if you have any questions or anything you want to know, shoot us an email, NC State Prague ncsu.edu. We all monitor that pretty closely and constantly, so we'll definitely see that and answer any questions you have. I want to mention as well that I forgot to mention at the beginning, we did record this session. We are recording it. We'll make that available to you all who are here today, and you can of course share that with parents, friends, whoever you want. So that's one way to keep this information. And then finally, we do have weekly on Tuesdays, we have virtual drop-ins. So for 1 hour every Tuesday, you can just on Zoom, just pop in and ask us some questions, whatever you may be thinking about. And then as well, I'm here, as I mentioned, on campus. If you know where Holmes Hall is, it's in Central Campus. It's kind of close to the Witherspoon and the Student Health Center. That's where my office is. I'm here pretty much every day. So you're welcome to pop by, ask any questions, and friendly. So you come on by anytime. And yeah, so that's the ways to keep in touch with us. If you think of anything along the way, and then certainly when you begin an application, we'll be in touch with you closely, and I'll work with you on that if you have questions as well. So we have about 5 minutes left. So in that time, we want to open it up to you all, and feel free to ask Kim, Eva, myself, our students, any questions you may have.
I have a question. In relation to the summer session, what is the maximum number of credit hours you could take? I'm in art and design and I need in a broad studio, but I'd also like to take another GEP.
Yeah,
I mean,
so go ahead, Kim. Were you jumping in?
oh, no, I mean, I guess maximum, you could answer, Alex. I mean, you could minimum 5, but you could take more. It's just a matter of scheduling it, because if you're taking studio classes, they are longer blocks. Have you applied yet for the program? Because once you
I'm
apply,
applying right after, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we'll get the classes up soon. Then you could start seeing the schedule and like the different possibilities of classes you can take. So.
Okay, thank you.
Is there like any specific like COVID protocols that the students are taking there now, as far as like comparison, like how we do right now on campus, like, you know, vaccination, those who are not vaccinated, you get tested weekly. Like, is there like some type of system like that there?
Yes, because the Czech Republic, especially for the summer semester, the EU is not allowing unvaccinated people or third country people in, which United States citizens are considered third countries. So we are requiring vaccination to come to the Czech Republic, because otherwise it's really it's not like every restaurant you go to, you have to show your vaccination status. So it's a little bit different than on campus, that you can be not vaccinated and still go to campus if you're tested weekly, but the tests cost here, like as a US citizen, they cost $50 a week. So, and also that's very restrictive coming in the country if you're not vaccinated. So we're not requiring it, but essentially it's very difficult to come to the EU if you're not vaccinated at this moment. In terms of COVID restrictions, we follow partly what's going on at NC State and partly what's going on here. The local restrictions are that masks need to be worn inside. So in classrooms, the students have to wear the mask, but the professors don't have to wear the mask if they're 6 feet away from students. And there's a specific type of mask that needs to be worn. But as part of the pre-departure sessions, we'll speak about all the current restrictions, because those change frequently. So it's hard things could be completely different in the summer, but they never really took the masking requirement away. It's been pretty much in place since last fall. There's been masks in like public transportation and in stores that you need to wear a mask. So, but we advise the students on all the different like regulations and what needs to be done. And it's even possible for us to convert the US CDC card into the EU COVID pass, so that you'll just have an app on your phone that you could show when you go into a restaurant that shows you're vaccinated.
Okay, thank you.
And we have, looks like a question in the chat, actually for Liz. Liz, What was it like as the only College of Education student in the program this semester? And can you speak more about the education course?
Yeah, so honestly, it's very interesting to be a part of a program where the majority of students are architecture, but I've learned a lot about like architecture, and it's just been really interesting to kind of see like a different discipline. But in terms of, being the only education student, it doesn't feel too different from, other semesters I've had at NC State. Just because I'm taking like very general classes here, minus the education course, but specifically with the education course, I've really enjoyed it. Child development is honestly one of my favorite topics to discuss, and I feel like I've learned a lot. I had the opportunity to actually visit a Czech kindergarten, which was so interesting. It was completely different from a kindergarten, like the kindergartens I've seen in America. But having that experience and also future classroom experiences here in the Czech Republic, it's really exciting to kind of just see that difference. And I feel like as a future educator, that's so important to kind of see different education systems and learn about them and see how you can incorporate things into your own classroom. And so when I did go to the Czech kindergarten, I saw a couple of things that they did that I was like, whoa, this is so interesting. I want to do this in my classroom. For example, they have kind of little spaces in the schedule for students to re-energize. They have a sauna in the kindergarten, which I thought was incredible. I've never seen that. I've never heard of that. I don't know if I can fit a sauna into my own classroom in the future, but I just thought it was interesting to kind of see how students are kind of very autonomous and have time to re-energize throughout the day, and also, get their lessons throughout the entire, school day. But yeah, it's been very exciting being, I guess, like an education major abroad, because it's kind of rare for us to be able to do this. And so I hope this like kind of opens doors for more of us to be able to study abroad.
Great, thank you, Liz. And if you have any more questions for either Liz, Jesse, or Emily, they've been gracious enough to share their email addresses and Instagram details in the chat box. And they said, feel free to reach out to them. You can as well. Our time is actually up. I'm looking at the clock. I want to just make sure that you, if you have any other questions, again, shoot us an email, reach out to us. We're more than happy to address those. But we want to thank today, especially, again, Emily, Jesse, and Liz, and thank you all for attending today and taking your time, taking the time to attend this. We will again make this available in the recording and share that with you all. So thanks everyone for being here today. Hope you learned a bunch and are excited about our programs.